wondering how I got into this mix. Mind playing tricks and I'm fiending for a fix. Habits overriding, imploding.
What's up, everyone? This is Derrick Bros with the Conscious Resistance Network. Today I'm going to talk with you more about the book, The Four Agreements. I just recently did a video and audio podcast about Chapter 1 of The Four Agreements called Domestication and the Dream of the Planet, which basically covers how, in more than ways than one, we buy into propaganda and we listen to other people's interpretation of the world and we become domesticated. The human animal becomes domesticated and we stray away from our true happiness and from finding our own path. And I know there are some people who maybe watch this channel or listen to my podcast who are used to hearing me talk about politics or anarchism or just political related issues and wondering, well, what is this sort of new agey book, Toltec wisdom book, what does it have to do with freedom? And if you understand my book, The Conscious Resistance: Reflections on Anarchy and Spirituality, and the whole goal of my message and my philosophy, then you understand that I think and I've seen that in order for us to achieve true change, it has to come from within. We can't only understand the mechanisms of the state and the government and those problems on the physical level. We have to go deeper than that and work on ourselves as well and be able to truly be free in our hearts and minds to create the world that I believe we are after. So understanding messages like this are a very big part of that. And so the Four Agreements, I read them last time. They are: be impeccable with your word, don't take anything personally, don't make assumptions, and always do your best. So last week we went through the domestication and the dream of the planet, and this week we're going to cover the very first of the Four Agreements, and then I'll have 3 more subsequent videos where we go over them. And really, if you're sitting here thinking, why am I going to listen to somebody tell me about a book I can just read myself, especially a book like this, it's very small, then you're absolutely right. Please go read this book yourself. Turn off this video and go read it yourself. But the reason I'm choosing to do this is because it's been powerful for me and part of my journey, along with many other things. And I feel like it's our job, or at least I choose to, take the sort of bodhisattva role and try to help all the other sentient beings out there on their paths. If I learn something that's valuable, some new concept or idea or practice, I want to share it, and that's the purpose behind this. But by all means, please go read the book yourself. So he says to speak with integrity, to say what you mean. Now, something like this, and most of this book, it sounds so simple and so basic, and as with what I've found, at least, is often the case with wisdom and powerful messages, is they are really basic. They are really essential to living a happy life, and they seem so simple yet profound. And the idea of just being impeccable with your word, the consequences that could have on your own life and your interactions with other people is amazing. So what exactly does it mean? Speak with integrity, say only what you mean, avoid gossip or self-hate. We're going to go deeper into these important concepts. And he says to use the word for the direction of truth and love. So recognize how powerful that our words are. And this is something, again, that we explore in my book. We discuss the idea of conscious language, and really one of the strongest ways that I know how to do that is through positive affirmations and through communicating with the self, with your own self, and not buying into negative and limiting self-doubts. It's a big part of changing your outlook and then changing your ability to care about yourself and care about those around you. So he says that your word is most important. It is it can either create heaven on earth or it can create a hell. He says the word is the power that we have to create. It's creative power. Word is also force. He also refers to it as a type of magic, and if you're thinking magic, again, what is this new age stuff? Please continue listening and let's see how much of this you can relate to, because whether you've come to understanding again the physical manifestations of our fight for freedom, you also have to take time to learn these deeper level things. And I feel like some of us are so caught up on the physical level, we're not even tuned into our own self, let alone how to tune into other people and how to relate to them and communicate effectively to them. So he said it's a double-edged sword. The word is, again, it can create or it can destroy. It can create the most beautiful dream, or it can destroy everything around you. It can create hell or love or heaven. The word is the magic. He also says misuse of the word is black magic, is what he refers it to. He talks about Hitler and basically getting into the ideas of propaganda. And I think this is a way that us activists can really understand the word through the use of propaganda and through these campaigns that we face from government, from corporations, and from media, and all these different people who are trying to hook our attention, as he says, and to get us to think about what they want us to think about, and to talk about what they want us to talk about, and to put ideas in our head which might not necessarily be the ideas that we believe in and the truth that we actually value, but they're one that's being sold to us, and that sort of becomes a part of our thinking over time. He also says the human mind is a fertile ground where seeds are continually planted. And he asks, is your mind fertile for the seeds of fear or the seeds of love? And I think that's an important part to take notice of, like what you buy into. I've been even really taking note of this recently. You know, I listen to all kinds of music, and there's some hip hop that I listen to, and more these days I listen to as much conscious music as possible with a positive message or politically aware, or talking about social justice and stuff like that. But there's some music that I like to try to check out that I used to listen to, but there's often you know, heavy music or hip hop that I'll listen to, and it's just extremely misogynistic or sexist and just things, you know, that people put in music. And I guess back in the day it didn't really affect me. Now I'm like, even trying to like sing along or just, you know, jam along, I'm like, oh damn, I can't, it just feels wrong. It doesn't feel right, like it doesn't mix with me anymore. And I think it's because I've become more in tune with what I'm listening to and what the intentions are behind the message and how it's affecting me, and then how it's affecting my ability to communicate, you know, my highest word. So again, he mentions the domestication. We have a need to fit in, a fear of rejection. And so he gives it a couple examples here of like a parent that is impatient and has also been taught by their parents to you know, to not communicate in an effective word, to not be impeccable with their word. And so a parent is just abusive with their language, or even to friends and family. I really think this is so important that we recognize the power that our words have, which is why if you follow me on Facebook or you know, listen to these videos or my articles and stuff, I take every opportunity possible to try to interject some positive message, some like really awesome idea that's going to inspire people, I hope, towards a better place in their life. I don't ever want to put anything out that's going to bring someone down and make them feel worthless or make them feel like life is pointless or there's no possibility of making things better. Why would you want to do that? I want to promote as much positive building and outlook as possible in the world, and that is part of me being impeccable with my word. So he goes into, of course, the negative self-talk, and I talked about this in the last video, that you know, when we accept something, we make an agreement with that belief. You know, somebody says that you're ugly, and if you hear that, especially as a young child, or if it's repeated enough, you might buy into that, and over time that becomes the agreement. That becomes part of your new belief system. Now he breaks apart the word impeccability, which he says means without sin, and we'll go further into that. He takes im as without, and the Latin peccatus, which means sin, to mean without sin. And in his words, he says that a sin is anything that you do against yourself. So take it out of the religious context and think about things that you do that work against you and your ultimate goals, or you as the positive, beautiful human being that you are. And when we hurt others, we are only hurting ourselves. If you love yourself, he says, express that in your interactions with other people. And I think that's a great message right there. You know, if you are feeling good inside with yourself, and you're happy, and you're you know, respecting you're respecting yourself and your own boundaries, and you're not letting other people run over you or misuse you, or you know, you're not abusing yourself, then you really have no reason to spread that kind of, you know, emotion outwards to other people. You're going to be in a balanced place. We create chaos with our word. He starts listing all the different things we can do with our word. We create chaos with our words. When we hear an opinion and we believe it, we make an agreement, and it becomes a part of our belief system. And then we pass on these toxic opinions down again through the generations. And I thought this was great too. He says, imagine how many spells we are putting on each other throughout, you know, every day, just all the ways we interact with people. And especially, I'd say, if you bring in like Facebook and social media and people just trolling each other or attacking each other, I see a lot of division in these different groups where I really see opportunities for common ground and working together, and I just see people being really bitter, and just I have to wonder if they're happy if they're able to express such hatred and vitriol towards another human being, even if they feel like, hey, your opinions and ideas are the antithesis of what I believe in. Just, you know, go on doing what you do, believe in what you believe. Like, unless you're trying to actually gain something through a productive debate, what's the point of just trying to drag somebody down? I think that's a sign of somebody that's hurting. Gossip is the worst form of poison, he says. And he calls gossip a computer virus. And that's an interesting way to look at it. It comes in and it's screwing with everything. It's making sure that the machine can't work correctly, and that's what happens with gossip. People buy into it. And he talks about the computer hackers, or the black magicians is another thing he calls them. And these are the people that purposely hurt people. Again, the people that are hurt inside, and so they lash out and they attack other people because of their unhappiness, and they pretend or they believe that they enjoy it and they get off to it. But ultimately, they're just covering up pain and hurt, because at some point in their life, you know, the word was misused against them, and it's made them feel certain ways that they have bought into and believed and accepted, made agreements with, and now that's their belief system. So they may have negative thoughts about themselves. And I can say from experience that, you know, I've talked openly about my drug addiction in the past and suicide attempts and stuff like that. And I know for a long time, and even, you know, to this day, some days I'll struggle, but it's definitely not anywhere near it was 10 years ago. But just the negative hatred towards myself, just the constant, like, oh, you're such a dumbass, you're so stupid, just all these little things that I would kind of mumble to myself or repeat to myself in my insecurities, and thinking about, like, wow, I've been saying that to myself my whole life. Like, of course I think these, you know, negative ways about myself, and felt so low. He says you can measure the impeccability of your own word by your level of self-love, and that is absolutely, that's just insightful. It's beautiful. The way you treat yourself is, and you know, if you, for example, here's a little relationship tip for you. Not that I'm that great at them, but if you meet somebody, and the relationship, I mean this in the sense of a friend, business partner, you know, love relationship, whatever, but somebody that is just really freaking down on themselves and hates themselves and is mean towards themselves, or towards other people, then they probably don't like themselves. But definitely if they're mean towards themselves, but then they also have this like really loving side, then it's a sign that they've got some issues, some things to work on, you know. And if you love yourself, you have to recognize whenever you have to remove yourself from certain situations that might not be benefiting you or bringing you towards your highest good, you know. If that's a toxic business relationship, or a friendship or romantic relationship, whatever it may be, you know, measure the impeccability of your own word by the level of self-love. So if you are being really down on yourself, you probably don't have the best level of self-love yet, but you can change that. You know, I like to do positive affirmations, literally as cheesy as it sounds, and trust me, this shit used to sound cheesy to me. Go walk over in the mirror right now, stand in front of the mirror and just look at yourself and say, you are badass. I love you. I value you. I take care of you. I want to make decisions that are going to help me, like help us grow as an individual. You are awesome. Talk to yourself like that, you know. Break all the negative agreements that you've been making over your life that cause you suffering. It's time to break those. Now, repeat after me if you choose to. I am impeccable with my word. From this moment forward, you can choose to be impeccable with your word. You can learn from this. And I advise you to read the book, find the audiobook somewhere, and incorporate these simple lessons into your life. I'll be back shortly with the next part of it. Just to preview, the next agreement, the second agreement is don't take anything personally, which I think is great as well. So we'll get into that soon. Let me know what you guys think. Give me a thumbs up, share the video, comment below. I'll talk to you soon. As always, if you can hear this, you are the resistance. Peace.